Sure, yeah. So, hello everyone. My name is Aaron Capon, and I'm a pre-sales solution architect here at Cambay. I'm excited for you guys to, participate in this demo that we have today around Power Platform. And I think there's a lot of really awesome features that you're going to get your hands on today. So, just some background on Cambay and our company. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. We have 9 U.S. locations and 5 international locations. We call ourselves a digital transformation company. And what we mean by that is, we are in the business of helping companies adopt digital technology, improving their business process and value with technology. We are in the Microsoft suite of products. So as you can see here, we kind of run the gamut around CRM, modern collaboration, Azure Cloud, BI and analytics, managed infrastructure and engineering. But, I always like to break down what is digital transformation. It really comes down to 4 pillars. There's process transformation, where we're talking about, modifying your business processes to leverage your technology better. Think of just, a paper process going to a digital process. A business model transformation, think about, a physical process where, you were shipping a physical product, maybe a DVD like Netflix, and now it's digital. And, that kind of changes that whole model of how you're doing your business with technology. Your domain transformation, new business lines, leveraging existing products in a new way, trying to get into new businesses with technology. And then internally, cultural and organizational transformation, aligning your company organization around technology, and specifically nowadays, cloud technology. Really moving from those on-premise, the old server rooms you had at your companies into the cloud and leveraging Microsoft's data centers to accomplish all your work. Okay. So if you want to kind of move that slide, awesome. Thank you. So we have 3 main pillars here. Azure Cloud, modern workplace. I think we should have one more there coming up. Yep. Data and analytics, like the animations, right? So, Azure Cloud, our app modernization, VMware, really taking those physical servers, moving them to the cloud, but also things like, SQL databases and that sort of stuff. We specialize in helping you transition, your on-prem environments to the cloud. Your modern workplace, kind of rethinking, today's workplace, especially post-COVID, having that physical location, but also remote locations, or, different offices in different places. So, just kind of how you can evolve your business to keep up with, all the changing environments that we've had over the last year and a half. Finally, data and analytics, leveraging your data to be not only, leveraging the data you have, but also being better with your data in a more predictive way. Right? We all have data that we're sitting on and we don't know what to do with, or it's just writing to a database every day, but we want to leverage that data to really get useful information from that. Okay. Next slide, please. All right. And that's really it. I want to turn this over to Sherman, and he's going to walk you through really the nuts and bolts. And I hope you get a lot of good stuff from it. So thank you, Sherman.
All right. Well, thank you very much. My name is Sherman Krancer, and we actually are contracted, from Microsoft and Cambay. They brought us in to conduct this session for you. So this is a customer immersion experience. I spent a little background on myself, 5.5 years at Microsoft as an executive, and now currently our organization is the main customer immersion experience or Azure Immersion Workshop vendor for. Or not vendor, but facilitator for all of Microsoft US and Canada subsidiaries. So we teach 36 3.5-hour long classes a month on really high-end stuff here. And if you're interested in that, I'll take the link. I'm just going to give you the link here. You can also sign up for some of those. Now, these are level 200, 300, and 400s. And I'll tell you one of them, if you're mad at one of your direct reports who's not really doing their job, send them over here to the Cloud Native Apps one. That's only 7.5 hours of mind-numbing entertainment. So you can sign them up and say, hey, learn about Kubernetes. I don't know, I just like to a little laugh with that. But more importantly, I think what today we're going to be doing here is, let me go back to my admin center here. What we're doing today is we're actually getting into, I gotta, 1 second, I'm gonna prove my sign in here, is the power of Power Apps, really. And I think one of the actual things that we wanna do first is actually play a video because I think, you know, what this does, this kind of helps build a story. Whoops, I gotta go office.com, sorry. I got into the wrong one. Perfect. Okay, that's what I want to be in. Okay, so you know, Cambay is an amazing organization, and you know they work with a company called St. Jude, and we actually have the I think the CTO from St. Jude Hospital who talks about a story of what type of power application you know they use and what was the impact. And it's just a really neat story. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this kind of to start, and then I'm also going to be putting out a poll here because I want to make sure, I want to see where you guys are at, you know, within this one. But we're going to be going over Power Automate today, Power Apps, Power BI, and Chatbot over the course of this scenario today. We're actually going to be creating the Power Apps. We're going to be creating the Power Automates. You're going to be doing it. So it's really cool. So let's go ahead and just get started. This is a great intro into the whole thing. I'll push play here.
The person that I'm going to be introducing today, this was his project. So this was a St. Jude initiative to be able to, was designed around COVID, and how to bring patients and employees back to campus in a safe manner to protect St. Jude's children. So without it, you know, I don't want to take a lot of time, but I want to introduce who we have on the call. It is Todd McWilliams. He is the Vice President of Administration Applications for St. Jude. And he's been a very big partner with Cambay and helping us understand what St. Jude's initiatives are and us helping through that. Todd, you want to talk a little bit about the project, the initiative, and what we did for you guys and everything?
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. So I've been at St. Jude for, I'm starting my 22nd year, so I've been here a while. And so my story starts the first half of 2020, you know, when COVID hit and we were trying to wrap our arms around our response to the pandemic. And you know, protecting our patients and patient families and our staff, you know, that was really priority one for us. And so our first task was to identify those people who we could send home to minimize the number of people coming to campus. So, and it's like anything else, our users turn to their favorite tool of choice, which is Excel, to collect this information. And it was really called the Monster. It was really nicknamed the Monster. And it was really an Excel spreadsheet from Hades. And no matter how they locked it down and told the users not to add columns, don't change the data types, not to change columns, so, you know, they kept doing that. So it made analysis of the data impossible. So, and St. Jude implemented a swabbing program on campus and off campus and developed its own mobile app that we had to access each day to come to campus. We would answer the screening questions and it would tell you whether or not it was, you know, you were red, yellow, or green. Red indicated you couldn't come on campus. Yellow, it was your time to be tested. And this app also served as our hall pass, which we had to show to the guard every time we entered a building. But leadership was concerned that we had people that weren't following our campus protocol and needed a way to identify those people. And also we wanted to replace the Monster. So leadership turned to IS, and I was introduced to Dave from Cambay, and we set out to create a proof of concept using the Power Platform. We identified 7 data sources that we needed to extract data from to meet the leadership's objective. And the goal of the POC was to provide the data needed to analyze if a person was coming to campus and shouldn't for a variety of reasons, if a person was coming to campus, had they been approved to come to campus, being trained on campus protocols and were they being swabbed? I personally have been swabbed 37 times throughout this pandemic. The team built a model-driven app, which I'm sure that you'll be introduced sometime during this during this session. Using the model-driven app, a user could view the data, sort it, search, and the information could easily be downloaded into Excel if people wanted to. And we could also use it as a source for our Power BI dashboards. The proof of concept was so successful, they requested we work with them to design something on the platform to collect remote worker agreements, because as you know, payroll is all based on where you live, and so we wanted to be sure everybody understood what they were required to do. So we built a Canvas app, and that Canvas app walked the person and the supervisor through the screens they needed to fill out and questions they needed to answer. And each supervisor could only see the people that they directly supervise or indirectly supervise. And once the forms were filled out, they could submit it, and the supervisor and the employee needed to sign using DocuSign. So we integrated the Power Platform with DocuSign. Once signed by both, the completed document is then filed away in HR, and we also use the Power Automate job to kick off if a person moves from what we had in HR, so that another remote worker agreement would needed to be filled out. HR estimates that the process saved about 6 months of labor, because otherwise they would have had to contact each person individually and go through the whole process. And so that was extremely successful. And last but not least, our latest creation was a process to track a person's accommodation or vaccination status, because on September 10th, a person has to be vaccinated in our campus. So that just went into effect last week. And we've also kicked off other projects with Cambay. We are also working on a space management process with them, but we've been extremely successful with the Power Platform, and the tool is a great tool. We're still learning, but with Cambay's help, I think we're going to be able to do a lot more. So, and that's it for me. So.
Wow, Todd, that was really amazing. One question I do have, and I think that this is something that a lot of folks will be talking about today, is in relation to the 6 months that you saved, the 6 months of labor, right, from HR. There was a cost to that, right? And I'm sure that was that one of the main things, like how do we justify the cost of doing this? What is the ROI? Was that kind of how you looked at it a little bit, or did you take that?
And it was all about saving time. We didn't really look at the cost, and a lot of that had to be because HR is involved in so many things at St. Jude, and so just being able to take this off of them gave them the ability to focus on other things. And so, and we're lucky in that our campus is completely closed. It has a fence all the way around it, and so we could easily control access to our campus. But once you got on campus, we needed to be sure you were following the protocols, and were you educated on the protocols, right? And so we could reach out to those people because we knew what buildings they clocked into, what buildings they used their access to get into. So all that data was on Power Platform. So it was just a one-stop stop for leadership and others to be able to keep tabs on what was going on in their area. So it was extremely helpful.
Oh, that's great. And the time, right? I guess there's two things. It's sometimes we get buried in these mundane tasks that have been created over time, right? They're like, oh my gosh, now we've got 12 things. Or even having somebody have to walk across campus, right, to give a piece of paper. And we don't think of that. But using Power Automate and Power Apps have probably helped you really kind of conceptualize how we could save time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it did. And it really did a lot to help us. And we see we just signed a Microsoft 5-year EAO renewal, And so we expect to do a lot more with the Microsoft stack. So, but yeah, to be honest, some of this would have never happened if it hadn't been. I mean, none of us wishes the pandemic was here, but because of the pandemic, it forced us to think of other ways, new and better ways to do things, like electronic signature with DocuSign, using the Power Platform. Those things would have never happened if it hadn't, because it's just we're old school. We're creatures of habit, right? So
yeah. I think for the first time, so I'm only 47, I like to say that, but for the first time, I've noticed like some change is starting to bother me. I see what my dad used to say, what's going on with all this change? And I hate this change. And I was like, Dad, it's part of but now I see it, right? Like stop changing, right? But we go through that. But that's really amazing, Todd. And you're right, for the pandemic, we're not going back to the way it was. We're just not. And it's accelerated the idea of how can we use some of these tools to like better our lives, right?
You're absolutely right. I have an employee that works for me in California and one in Pennsylvania, and so we've had to get a lot more creative with how we use tools to interact with them. And the Power Platform has been a big part of that. How do you collect information and signing of documents easier because people aren't on campus, right? So.
All right, that was excellent. Let me go ahead and take this out. All right, let me go ahead and get my video back on. That was fantastic. And I think there's a couple things that we can learn just from that is the power of using some of these tools. And number two, St. Jude is a marquee customer. I think we all know who St. Jude is. And Cambay is a great organization that has worked with them to kind of figure some things out. So today, everybody should be here at the office.com site for you. And a couple of things I'm going to do. I actually have this amazing pointer tool that I'm using now. If you can look at my screen, I use this to show you where to go. Okay, so I'm going to be kind of using this. I might want to highlight something and put it on there. And what my job really today is to do is to kind of highlight some of this technology, help walk you through so you could actually create these, what we're going to do today. Okay, so it's a hands-on lab, but it's a little different. Now, at the end of the exercise, I'll ask you, are you good to go? You fine? Do you have any problems or errors? And this is also a forum where we want you to have open conversation. Okay, you got a question? Let me know. We do this all the time. We've got some great resources that are actually on the call right now that can also help us out. So with that being said, you're here at the webpage. So what I want you to do is on the top bottom left-hand corner of office.com, you're going to see the saying says all apps. Okay, it's 4 little squares, one that kind of goes askew. I want you to go ahead and click on that one. We're going to click on all apps. And then what it's going to do here, it's going to bring up a bunch of different applications. So I do want to bring up one thing though, and this is you're lucky that you're on here because this is an announcement that you may not have heard of from Microsoft, but your Microsoft licensing, all the licensing we're looking at today, on March 1st of 2022 is going to go up by 20%. Okay. And then on top of that, Microsoft has decided, hey, we no longer want people to going on month-to-month billing anymore. We want you to sign up for either 1 year or a 3-year agreement for all of your Microsoft licensing. And that's kind of going, holy Moses, that's going to be tough to plan for. Many of you have hundreds of licenses, thousands of licenses. Oh my gosh, how are we going to actually do this? So that's an announcement. But Microsoft also says, hey, look, if you want to continue on month to month for 1 year, we're only going to allow it for 1 year. Your price will go from not just originally the 20%, but it'll go up an additional 20%. So it'll be 40%. Okay, increase. It is significant. And this is good. So you want to make sure that you talk to a company like Cambay to talk to them about it. They can do an assessment on your Office 365 licensing and then give you an optimization report that basically says, hey, you're oversubscribed, you're undersubscribed. Let's make sure that it's all taken care of. And that's using machine learning and an AI algorithm that we have involved here. I just want to talk about that because this is affecting all the stuff that we're learning today. Okay. So now if you're on this site, a couple of things we're going to look at. We're going to be looking at Power Automate today. So I just want to highlight that's going to be the blue arrow. We're probably going to start with that first. But we're also going to be clicking on Microsoft Outlook. We're going to be getting into Outlook a little bit because we're showing like an approval process. We're going to click into Teams to kind of show you how it all works within Teams to make our lives bigger, faster, better. We're also going to be clicking into SharePoint because we're going to be creating some triggers, causing some triggers in there. And then last one, let's see. I think that's the last one that we're going to be hitting. But there, sorry, no, Power. There's Power Apps. We're going to hit Power Apps too, and then Power BI, and then kind of go from that. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started in this whole clicking scenario. What I want you to do is go over to it says Power Automate and go ahead and click on Power Automate. I'm going to go turn off. I'm going to shut my door real quick. So I'm going to click on Power Automate. Okay. Now, when Power Automate, I'm sorry, here comes up. Basically, this is the start of the whole Power Platform tools that Microsoft is providing to people, right? And really, what I love about this, and I really don't like reading off the PowerPoints or something, but this really encapsulates what we're trying to do. It says, need to free up some time, let Power Automate take on repetitive tasks that slow you down just by connecting the apps that you already use. So I know that there's a lot of people here that think about, okay, I've always thought about an app or Power Automate, type of scenario where I can make my life easier. And this is where we're going to go. Okay, this is where we do it. And the beauty of the whole Power Platform is Microsoft came out and they said, look, we know everyone's having these thoughts. We've also all thought of like, of a great app. If I could create this app, if I knew how to code, I got this app that would do 1, 2, 3, right? Well, using the Power Platform from Microsoft, this allows us to actually do low code or no code deployments of these ideas, right? For that. And inside the Power Automate, we can start from a very blank, start from blank and try to figure it out. Or we can use the power of Power Automate to give us some ideas of where to start. So on the main page, if you scroll down just a little bit, I want to show you a couple things. We have these are just examples, right? Try it, no problem. We already have some approval requests that have been pending. So this is where you would go. But look below that, they have some templates that are available to us, right? Templates that are available to us that we can start from. And we'll go into that in just a moment. They have some popular services, but what I want you to take a look at is really this first example, okay, of an automate. Because we already talked about the St. Jude one, right? But look at this one. So this one says, when a tweet is posted, 1, check if the user has more than 100 followers. How cool is that? Number 2, add a new row in Microsoft Dataverse. Number 3, add a member to MailChimp list. Number 4, send a Dynamics 365 customer voice survey. So you think about it, these are the steps. So you got to think about Power Automate, Power Flow as steps that you want to happen, but steps that you don't want to have to go keep clicking 4, 5, or 6, or 7 different ways. Okay. Today we're going to be showing this great thing about approval requests or approval requests. That is going to be really pretty cool. And then just, we can work securely inside of this. So there's no problem with that being said. So I just want to show you that over there. Okay. Now let's take a little quick tour. On the left-hand side is your menu bar, okay? And what I want you to do is click on where it says Action Items, okay? So I'm going to click on Action Items, okay? And then right below that, there's this little thing that says Approvals, okay? So I'd like you to click on this because, Power Automate, one of the great pieces of this is the approval engine that is created. And this helps us create, just like what St. Jude was doing, right? Another scenario is I worked with a major university. And they had a 15-day process to procure a computer, right? And what we did is we took that from 15 days down to 2 using digital signatures and knowing what inboxes to hit. But we use the approval process. And as you can see here, this has approvals. You may have some approvals in yours, and if you click on any one of them, suppose to click on and you can actually just to approve, right? And you can click this checkbox. It comes up here, they did a new SharePoint file, and I can just go ahead and push confirm. So there's many different types of approvals that you could create, but this is kind of one of the places that you would go to do approvals. Or what we're going to show you today is how to use that approval process and put it into a place called Microsoft Teams or Outlook to make it a whole lot even easier for you to do. Okay, so I just want to show you that. Okay, now next, I'm going to go back over to the menu bar and we're going to skip create, but I want to click on templates. Okay, so go ahead and click on the left-hand side, your menu bar, about midway down, click on templates. Okay, so we'll click on templates. Now, inside of templates, I love these because these are very simple ideas. And if you're just new to Power Automate, this is where you go to start something simple. Okay, to start something simple, gives you a template, gives you ideas. We're going to use a template in a little bit, but this is a really good one. But what I also want to look at to show you is look at the bar. So this one says all flows, but there's featured, there's shared with me, there's remote work, there's approvals, there's buttons, Visio, data collection, and email. Now, what I want you to do actually is if you go ahead and click on the email one, please, I want you to click on that because I want to help explain what's going on here. So if we click on email, there's templates here. Now, let me help you with what kind of explain a little bit more about Power Automate. So Power Automate isn't only set for your current applications. It's not. It's actually set for, current Microsoft applications. It's for any applications, any idea, any cloud service that you have. We can typically just do the login, the API is already there, and we can do something. So for example, if you look over here, these are one of the first, and this is homework. This is actually homework for after the session, okay? Well, the first one I want you to do, go to templates, go to here, and do the first one. And what this one is basically saying is say, okay, we want to save Outlook.com email attachments to our OneDrive. Now, when I was at Microsoft, I did this because I was getting about 300 emails a day. A lot of attachments, very hard to find attachments. So what I did is I put this in place and it just scraped all my attachments, put it into a folder. And then in that folder, I basically created an archive flow where after so many days it'd be archived, but it was so much easier to grab all those attachments to search for them. Because we all know one of the problems that we have today in searching for files in an Outlook.com or Outlook tenant, it's almost impossible. It's just terrible, right? It's the worst search engine in the world, right? In my opinion. But you have Outlook.com email. This is one of them. Okay, so that's it. And this is your homework for today to go ahead and do this one. Now, but I want to take you a look at something over here. The next one over is save email attachments from Outlook.com to Dropbox. Now, the reason why I'm talking about it this way is look at Outlook.com. Okay, I get that one, but Dropbox, wait a minute, that's not a Microsoft product, right? Well, Microsoft has created the API connections in the background. So all you have to do is add Dropbox and it'll say, okay, use your sign-in credentials to get in there. And then it'll do all the rest. And you don't have to do the coding for it, which is amazing, right? Amazing, right? But let me show you one more thing. If you look to the right, this is what's very indicative of how cool this is and how powerful this is. It says save Gmail attachments to a Dropbox folder, okay? Wait a minute. Ask yourself, wait, Gmail? Wait, that's not Microsoft. And wait, Dropbox, that's not Microsoft. So what's really neat about this and explaining it this way is that it's almost anything in the cloud that they're helping you. It doesn't even have to be Microsoft products to create flows, to create automation. Now, these are very small. And the reason why I'm going to templates, these are two things, right? But a Power Automate flow could have 50 different connections, 40 different connections, all depends how complicated it was. This LSU approval process, I think there was 13 different approval stops. We had 13 different connections, all going all over the place, right? But these are two. So what's interesting is now, as you can see, you can do, it's almost limitless what you can actually do. Okay, crazy. All right. Now, what I want us to do, go back to the menu bar on the left-hand side, and I want you to click on connectors, please. Go ahead and click on connectors. Now, how I describe this is, hey, let's say you have an idea. You're like, ooh, I want to do something in Salesforce, or I want to do something in Twitter, right? So what you do is you go all over here for Twitter, for example, okay? And you go ahead and click on Twitter. Let's go ahead and click on Twitter, okay? Now, Twitter is not a Microsoft product, but now the cool thing here is that now it's given us a whole ton of templates or ideas or different things to get started. So we start with one of these, we kind of get into it, and then we kind of figure out what we can do from that, okay? So, or I wonder if we have anything on LinkedIn. That'd be very interesting. I never really even looked at it. Oh, look at that. We have LinkedIn connectors, okay? Oh, there's no, there's no connectors for LinkedIn. I would love to automate some of that stuff. Let me see V2, if there's any connectors. No. Okay. Well, that was a little disappointing, but let me go back to connectors. The other thing too is if you scroll down on your connectors page, I'll give you another example. Not everyone uses Dynamics CRM, but we use, some people, a lot of us use Salesforce, but click on Salesforce. So when you click on Salesforce, this is pretty cool because it says receive a win notification when a Salesforce opportunity is won. Copy Salesforce task to Outlook. Receive a daily email with outstanding Salesforce tasks. Create Google Calendar events for Salesforce events. This is pretty cool. And notice this last one, create Google Calendar events for Salesforce events. Holy Moses. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So anyways, just want to explain this to you. The connectors piece is really awesome. Just kind of gives you all, a great way to start, right? Now we could use on the left-hand side, data. We could bring data right into a Power Automate if we wanted to. We can monitor our flows. We can use a process advisor. But what I really want you to do right now is we're gonna get into creating our first Power Automate. All of us can do it, even if you're brand new to the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this on the left-hand side on the menu bar. Okay, is the create function. Okay, as a button, left-hand side, midway, create. Go ahead and click on create. Okay, and then what it's going to come up with is another window. So this is where we go. And as you can see here, we have Power Automated flows, right? These are blanks. Okay, desktop flow, scheduled cloud flow, instant cloud flow, automated cloud flow. I tell you the RPA one, the desktop flow, I love the whole idea about it, but it just doesn't really work very well. Okay, so don't get your hopes up. I really had my hopes up. All right, but below that, we have some templates. Okay, so the very first one that we're going to do today, and let me explain it, is this one. It says start an approval when a file is added to SharePoint. So let me break it down for you. So let's say we have a SharePoint site and we have a documents folder in SharePoint, right? Simple, it's pretty easy to understand. And we notice that everyone is just creating new files and just muddying up that whole file, the documents folder, right? And so we thought, okay, instead of allowing that, what we're going to do is we're going to create an approval process so that when anyone actually creates a new file or stores a new file inside of that particular folder, before it gets actually approved, before it gets actually there for everyone to access, there's an approval that's going to be sent to me or to you. You're going to get the approval, and then you're going to say, yes, I approve it. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. Okay, we're going to show you how we can do this so quickly. And this has 4 different data connectors, so it seems a little complicated, but it actually isn't. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and click into that one. Okay, we're going to start an approval when a file is added to SharePoint. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down. I want everyone to scroll down. I'm going to increase my font so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm going to pause here for a second. I can take a drink so that just in case anybody didn't get here yet. If you didn't get here, you're confused, go to create. Second one over is start an approval in SharePoint. All right, let's do this. Okay. So the first page you're going to get is going to ask you, well, where is this flow going to connect to? Okay, so the first one is connecting to all 365 users. Okay, they're in my tenant. Number 2, it's going to connect to the approvals icon or application inside of Power Automate. Next, it's going to connect to Microsoft Teams, my Microsoft Teams. Okay, and it's also going to connect to my Office 365 Outlook. And then it's going to connect to SharePoint to monitor. So that we're saying, okay, now, if any one of you have, you should all have 5 check boxes, but if you don't, you might have something that says fix connection. Go ahead and click on the fix connection, and it'll say just re-sign in, and it'll be 1 button, 2 buttons, and then you'll have the green check box. Okay. Now, after that, let's go down to where it says continue. Okay. So I want you to click on continue. Okay. Click on continue. And now we have to tell it a few more things. Low code, no code. It's going to do all the coding in the background. So the very first thing it's going to ask us is the very first drop down. And this says SharePoint site to monitor. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on that drop down. And then what I want you to do, it's going to show us a bunch of SharePoint sites. I want you to scroll down to where it says sales teams. Click on sales teams. Now, if you don't have sales teams, pick marketing teams, but remember that you picked that because we're going to show you how to do the trigger. Okay. So sales teams. Does anybody have a blank site? Okay, good. Or is anybody staring into the eyes of the blue dog? Because you might be getting hypnotized. All right. So let's go. Now, next, it's going to ask you, well, what SharePoint list are we going to monitor, right? So click the arrow down here. And the only one we want to monitor is documents. So anything that goes into the main documents folder, that's what we're going to create an approval process for. So put a documents there. Now, if there were subfolders in the documents page, we could then monitor that one specifically. But today we're leaving it alone. So leave the next one blank. And then lastly, we need to indicate who we want the approver to be. Okay. Now you may wonder, you're given credentials to get in. So some of you like Andrew CIE 18, right? Let's see. Linton is CIE 14. So what you would do here is you would just type in CIE and the number that you are. So if you're number 6, put CIE 6, and then you click on azuredirect.com. So I'm going to make CIE 6 an approver, but I'm also going to give myself info because I want to make sure I'm the approver too. So info, type in the first few letters, and boom. Now, pro tip here, okay, is you got to be really careful. I'll show you something. Okay, right here, you have to put right next to the colon, don't put a space after the colon if you want to add somebody else. Otherwise, you're going to be, you can't, it doesn't work. Okay. So now, okay, now that we've done that, we want to go to create. So push create. Okay. Now this is the end of our very first exercise. Not just creating this. We'll go some more, but I need some feedback from the group here. Can you please come to the chat window and just give me a good to go? You made it this far, or I have a problem or question mark. So please let me know. Okay, Susan, Rebecca, Wilson, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Melissa, all right. David, okay, perfect. This is excellent feedback. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. This white light, man, sometimes I get lonely over here. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Now that we're in this site, what I want us to do is I want to show you the back end piece of it, what actually happened. Okay, so what I want you to do is see middle or not top left, but up in the corner and left-hand corner, you see this edit button. I want you to click on the edit button. Okay, because what we do now is it's going to show us what was in the background. What did we do? Okay, so hold on. So here we go. All right, so in this, it basically says when a file is created, okay, next one down says get my profile. So we told it to get my profile. Then we asked it to create an approval process, okay, an approval for it. And then we asked it to do two things. One, send an email approval to me on my Outlook, or two, create an approval in Microsoft Teams. So I can go to Teams and just do the approvals from there. Okay, that's really what we did. Okay. Now, what I do want you to do, top right-hand corner, we want to go to the test area where it says test. Okay. I want you to click on test. Okay. Automatically. No, click on manually and then push test because we need to create a trigger now to show you how to do it. So just push test. Okay. No problem. We're in good shape. Test. All right. Now, let's go figure out how to trigger this application. Okay. So what I want you to do is remember our very first window, Microsoft Office. Okay. Go back to that first tab on your browser. Click on Microsoft Office. Okay. And what I want you to do is I want you to go to where it says SharePoint. Okay. And I want you to click into SharePoint, please. So it's on your Office apps. Go to SharePoint. We click SharePoint. Awesome. Now we're in SharePoint, right? And what I want you to do is see where it says sales teams. I want you to click into the white area. Now, if you had marketing, same thing. Okay. So go ahead and click into sales teams. And then on the left-hand side, you should see documents. Pretty simple. Upper left, click on documents. And then we're going to create a new document. So go to that new button, click on new, and we're going to create a new Word document. So I'm going to go down to Word. I'm going to click on Word, and it's going to open up Word Online. Okay. So this is good. This is good. Okay. Now we're going to, when it slowly opens, come on. Oh, I got to refresh it. Sometimes you got to do that. All right, here we go. Okay, so now we have it online, right? So let's go be test document for Power Automate. I don't care, really, automate. And then what's my new language? Okay, perfect, great. I'm going to put over here, I'm going to change the name to Cambay test document. Enter. Okay, perfect. Cambay test document. Now I've done it. It's saved. Now go ahead and just exit out of that. You just go ahead and kill the Word document. Awesome. Okay, so we actually did it. We actually created this. We ran it. We produced the trigger. So now go back to the office.com where all applications are. Back to the test. Okay, and I want you to click on. Now I want you, when you're back in Office, I want you to click on Microsoft Teams. Okay. Okay. Now check this out. Right away in Teams, because I did this, I now have all of these requests that have been sent to me that I can now actually do approvals for. So cool. We don't actually have to go anywhere. We can actually have this inside of our team and just like push, approve, right? And we can submit it, right? So we're going to submit it. Awesome. We can approve it right here, right? So request approvals. Looks like I got a new one coming in, but we can also, so that's success, right? So we can also go to this last one that just came in. Okay, we can submit that and the approval is done, right? Awesome, right? Or somebody, CIE 12, we can approve that one, submit, or you can approve it, whatever you want to do. But this is number one. But let me show you something else that's pretty cool. Okay, let's go back to the office.com site. We're going to open up Microsoft Outlook. Okay, and we're going to go to Outlook. Click on Outlook, please. And then when we open this up, all of a sudden, we're going to get a whole bunch more flows that just came in. Okay, and these are new approval requests. Look at that. So CIE 10 something. Oh, I already completed that request, right? This is another one. Like, oh, okay, CIE 10 test.docs, CIE 10. We can approve. Go ahead and submit, and bam, there it goes. So that's really, we've done this. So we've shown you how to create an approval process based on what you do. And now we've run it, we've triggered it. And now what we can do, just briefly, we can go back to run history on the top, click on that. And then what we can show you here, go back one, and I'll show you the run history, which has succeeded and good. Awesome, 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 awesome. So with that being said, good job on that one. I have another poll here. Let's see. I'm just curious. Like after we've just kind of discussed this and created this whole frame of mind, what business functions do you think you would use, or you would use Power Automate for? Would it be help desk, customer service appreciation or application, PTO requests? Just go ahead and vote on the poll, because it's going to be very interesting. As I'm going to show the results, we don't show anybody who voted, but what we're going to show you here is the infinite possibilities, okay, of this, right? So I'm going to send this in just a second. We'll get one more vote. Okay, awesome. So let me show you. I'm going to end the poll, but I'll share the results. Look at that. Help desk, customer service application, PTO request. workflow approval process, crisis communication application. So cool, right? Because now you're thinking, and this tells me you're thinking, which is great. Okay. Aaron, anything that you want? Oh, hey, Susan. Yes, no problem, Susan. We have a recording for you. No problem. Let's see. Any anecdotal thoughts, Aaron, that you want to add to this, or do you want me to go over to Power Apps?
Yeah. So just as an example, we are using Power Automate for some internal processes currently, where we're going to be doing things like creating help desk tickets in other systems. So we're actually working with a client now around pushing requests over to ServiceNow. So just kind of keep in mind, that really Power Automate can communicate with all these third-party systems, and you're not just limited to your Microsoft product stack. So, yep, thank you.
Thank you. That was really good. And I appreciate that. Yeah, it's an infinite possibilities. We can do so much with this thing, right? Now, let me give you just a quick thing. Remember that approval process that I told you that we were doing, right, for that major college? Well, that college, well, how much, right? And we're like, wow, there's a lot of hours here. So the cost of actually doing that was about $31,000. Okay. And then right away, like, whoa, holy Moses, that's a lot of money to do all this stuff for you. But we said, well, hold on a second. Let's do a forensic accounting of all those people that were involved. And there's like 12 people involved in this darn process. And we said, well, what do they make per year? What do they make per hour? How much time do they spend on each one of these? And then let's go ahead and add it up. And what we found was 2 months and 1 day, they were a net zero. All their money had been recouped, and now they're winning, which is amazing, right? Like, holy Moses, this is pretty cool, right? So I just want to share that with you. There's a lot of ways of looking at productivity goes up. We can save time, we can save money by doing some of these things. So awesome. Okay. Let's go to Power Apps here. So I want to go over top left-hand corner, go back to your Office applications of your Office suite. And then I want you to go down to where it says Power Apps. It's a purple like diamond, okay, for us. We're going to go ahead and click into Power Apps. And this is one of the coolest things ever too. And let me give you a little story here. When I was at Microsoft, one of my first projects was I managed 6,000 Microsoft partners. And I remember my boss telling me that. I was like, are you kidding me? What am I going to do? And he's like, well, your job, Sherman, is to help them understand and sell 2 more products each. Everything's at scale at Microsoft, right? Sell Office 365 or sell something, right? And I said, okay. So what I did is I created 20 1-minute videos. I put them on YouTube and I put them private, right? So that when the telemetry wasn't being, overly done, right? Or used. And then what I did is I created an app using Power Apps, low code, no code, right? And it was a web app that basically said, okay, they signed in, and they got 5 videos, right? And then they would go through those 5 videos, and then they go next section. They would get 5 points. Boom, same thing. Okay, and what was interesting is I was able to create that whole app and publish it on the Apple Store, the Android Store, and the Microsoft Store within less than 7 days. And we ended up having 3,500 Microsoft partners actually go through that app. Believe it or not, right? Holy Moses, right? Something cool, right? So this is what the power of it, and we're able to do it. So what we're going to do today, it's very similar to what we were just talking about, okay, on the left-hand side. And what I want you to do, I want you to go ahead and where it says create on the upper left, okay, it says create, click on the create button again. Okay, now in the create button, okay, now we have, you can do this by blanks, very similar to the Power Automate one, right? Start from data. But what we're going to do, look at this. There's already some pre-done template apps that you can just manipulate, okay, by changing some of the pictures, color schemes, and actually get it into production right away. Okay, so if you look at this screen here, okay, I want you to scroll down. What we're going to create today, the first thing we're going to create is a My Expenses app. Okay, so I want you to go over here to the left-hand side. Do you see where My Expenses app is? Just scroll down a little bit, okay, and go ahead and click into My Expenses. All right. Next, we're seeing it says Create. Okay, go ahead and push the Create button. You can name it if you want to, or just go ahead and push Create. Now, what this is going to do, the next step is going to say, hey, it's going to open up a whole nother page here. Okay, this is what's called the Apps Studio. Okay, the Application Studio. If the SharePoint thing comes up, please just push allow, and then the studio is going to come up. This is pretty cool. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so you just say skip. We're not doing that. And let me explain this to you. Open app. Okay. So apps are like web pages, right? Apps are literally like from this screen, you go to this screen, you go to this screen, you go to this screen. Okay, pretty simple. Okay. On the left-hand side, this is the low code, no code scenario. On the left-hand side has the tree view. We talked about this. These are windows. Okay. So if you look at the first one on the left-hand side, it says my expenses. That's this window right here. That's the first one. Okay. But if we were to scroll down and we click on view report, that would be the next page. And each one of these have codes and things you have to do. Or we want to go to filter date. This would be the window that somebody would go to if they clicked on the filter date button, right? And the same thing goes on and on down the road until the whole app. So that's kind of what the app is, right? I want you to go scroll back up, and this is what I want you to do. See where it says header? In the very first page under my expenses, where it says header, right there. I want you to click on header. Okay, so what it did is it brought us back to our home page, and it says the header. Now, this is the tree view. Now, on the top is the function and what you're telling it to do. So, for example, if I press, see where the plus button is on the top right-hand corner, right? Of that, it says plus button, right? If I click on that, it's going to show here, okay, the function is on select. We're telling it to say, if somebody selects this button, then we tell it to navigate to new expense, none. Okay, but now, did you know that coding? No, it's already automatically embedded in there. Okay, so this is where the functions are based on whatever the buttons you have in here. If I go to pending, right, the same thing. On select goes to pending. Approved, on select goes to approved. It's already done. Okay, your stuff is done. Okay, but what I want you to do is I want you to click back into say my expenses. Okay, because now I want to show you on the right hand side is where we can start manipulating the look and the feel of this actual product here. Okay, so for example, I'm going to change the background of my expenses, right? So I'm going to create this one. It says color, the background. I'm going to make it kind of offensive, you know, so it's kind of not offensive, but you know, it's definitely. I can also change the color font of the wording, which I'm going to change it to red. Okay, and then I can bold it, and then I can make it bigger. 35. Awesome. Okay. Now, what I also want to do, let's see if I can do down here. I can fill the background here. Okay. And I can make it light gray or blue. Well, let's see about this one. That's terrible. There we go. Okay. So this one is probably the worst color scheme you can do, right? But that's okay. So what I'm showing you here is this. Okay. But we can also go into here and we can rename it by just double clicking. It could be Cambay expense. Okay, for the company, right? Awesome, very easy to manipulate. Now, what I also want you to do, I want you to go back to the tree view, okay? And I want you to scroll down, okay? And it's going to be new expense. We're going to click on the new expense one right here. So the other thing cool is that we can manipulate is look at these buttons. These are very small buttons. Well, I got some people in my office that have huge thumbs, okay? And they keep telling me this sucks. So we're going to create this button. We're going to manipulate the button to make it bigger. Very simple, right? We're just manipulating here, right? And then I can, once again, I can go and create a different color, you know, for that. I can also, you know, change the name. Okay, so we're going to do that. We can just, and also we can go in here and we can actually change the background on there. So we have that. It's pretty interesting. Now, the reason why I'm doing this and showing this is not just to help you understand how to manipulate. Okay. But the thing is, we want to now publish this. So the coolest thing about this is we can publish this right away. So I want you to go up to the top left-hand corner where it says file. Okay. click on File, and it's going to say Save As My Expense. Okay, awesome. Go ahead and push Save in the bottom right-hand corner, and it's going to actually publish this app for us. So we push Save. Okay, awesome. And then thank you, Shalene. Thank you, and thank you, Gaia. Click on See All Versions. Now, what's interesting here is if you look to the right, you see this thing called Live. So that means it's published. So what I want everyone to do here, go up to where it says Play, click on Play. Okay, it's going to ask you to do it one time, press Allow, and then boom, this is live right now. Okay, I can give this link to anybody around the world and they can click on it and it's live. Okay, so for example, Cambay Expense, and look how we manipulated the colors. I can literally click on Cambay Expense, right? See how I changed the buttons to bigger, right? I can give it a dinner. I can, the approval is in the background. So we attach this to SharePoint. We have to do one more thing. I'll say it's Paul, and I'll give the cost center from Microsoft, right? No problem. And I can just go ahead and create the report. And this is live right now. It's crazy. You can put dinner, category, food and beverage, cost 1,500, and push save, submit. And now it's under pending right now. So this app is a fully functional app right now involved. I don't know if you guys think that's cool. I think that's cool, but just want to kind of show you this here. So who made it to this far? Or give me a good to go, or I have a problem. All right, Melissa, good job. Ilana, Wilson. Can't find the play button. No problem, Wilson. Okay, look at my screen, bud. You see it? So Dave, it says can't enter amount on, not on my screen. Wilson, you don't have a, that's so weird. Are you at the versions? And do you see live right here? Do you see yours? It says live. Huh, this is weird. Huh. Well, let's go ahead and create one more. Okay. Let's go ahead and create one more here. Let's go ahead and actually, for timing's sake, Aaron, do you want to kind of just maybe chime in here and give us some ideas? I want to get into Power BI and Chatbot really quickly.
Sure. On the Canvas app side of things.
Yeah.
So we are actually kind of keeping this on an internal app that we're actually building right now. We're actually building an estimator app that's a Canvas app where for, our work that we take in, we're actually going to be, putting in some templates around, okay, is this a SharePoint job? Is this an Azure data job? And having defaults that come in and filling in details around that project that we don't have to, you usually do from scratch every time. And the reason we're doing it in a Canvas app is it's because it's giving us some flexibility that you wouldn't have, in doing something in maybe a more simpler format, maybe a model-driven app or something like that. So it's really kind of pushing the boundaries of that app development to where we can, save time without having to actually use something like .NET or code, but also giving us that flexibility. We may need to do calculations on the fly and saving things in certain ways. So yeah, it's been really cool. And obviously, we do that for our clients as well. I just have that, kind of in my mind because we've been working on it this week, but we're deep into Canvas apps usually every week. So
you guys are great at that. I do want to mention before anyone else leaves, there's a offer from Microsoft. It's so cool. Microsoft typically doesn't fund a lot of things, but they're saying, hey, if you have a Power Automate or Power Apps proof of concept, we can apply for up to $20,000 in what are called implementation funds that Microsoft will pay Cambay to do the proof of concept for you. It's really something else. And it's no strings attached. No strings attached to it. You're not committed to anything, but it's worth a conversation. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. No, you don't actually, because Fernando, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we do. We can connect everything. And that includes Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, or the chatbot. Okay. It's really something else. It's worth investigating because it's free money. Microsoft is just saying, hey, we want to make sure people have an opportunity to do it. And we'll talk about that a little later. Okay. All right. So next thing I want to do here, I just want to go into a quick demo of a chatbot. I think chatbots are amazing. This isn't something that you have access to, so you can just watch my screen. I'm going to go over to, oh yeah, actually you probably do have access to it. If I go to your team site, okay. Yeah, so we published Cortez Azure. Okay, so Azure, Cortez is a chatbot that I created. Let me give you the story behind it. So my organization, we do all of the Q&A for Microsoft's, and there's an international AI fundamentals, AI or artificial intelligence fundamentals, Azure fundamentals, and data fundamentals. But between 700 and 1,000 people come to these virtual training sessions, and they ask us questions. They ask us questions that you would never know, right? And they come in at 50 at a time. So my team's on this, and they're answering questions. And what I realized is like, wait, not any of my team is an expert in any one of the three. Right. So what I did is I created a chat bot, and I went to Azure Cognitive Services Q&A Maker. And there's two types of bots. So I can explain it to you. One is called a dumb bot. And a dumb bot is just a basic queue, a knowledge base with just questions and answers. And if it can't answer that specific question, it doesn't give you an answer. You typically see these on car dealerships. When you click, it says, hey, how can I help? And you're like, hey, tell me the price of this car. And it says, I can't help you. Or it just says, ask again, ask another question. You see these very low level bots, kind of embarrassing. I wouldn't do that. Now, the second type of bot is a intelligent bot. And Cortez, we created him, Cortez. He's an intelligent bot. Because what we turned on was cognitive services. We turned on AI and machine learning algorithms to basically help it learn by itself. So we created a knowledge base. We started with a knowledge base of 4,000 questions and 4,000 answers, okay, of this. And we used frequently asked questions from all over Microsoft. We scraped them using this AI bot. It was amazing. And then we turned it on, right? And we started to train it by giving alternate phrases to some of these questions. And it came back. Now, what's very interesting is that it's gone from 4,000 questions to lately, I just looked at it the other day, almost 8,100 questions have been created by the bot. Okay. And the bot is starting to kind of get a personality too, which is a little weird. But it's not a fully aware bot, but it's getting a little bit of personality. So it answers its own like self-aware questions differently almost every time. But in this event, and so why I want to talk about it too, is now my team, they go to Microsoft Teams, they look at Microsoft Teams, yeah, Skynet, seriously, dude. They go in here and they use this to answer the question. So for example, I'll even demo it for you. I can go in here and say, what is an availability zone? Okay, I'm going to ask it. Okay, we're going to say enter. Now let's see if he's asleep. Let's see if he's going to wake up here soon. Oh, look at that. Right away, he comes back and tells us, well, an availability zone is physical separate locations with their own power. Would you like to see the global infrastructure diagram? This is a secondary step. I'm like, well, yeah, I do, man. Let me click on that. And then now he goes back into the knowledge base and he's created these extra ones in here, right? Geographies and regions. Now I can say, well, gosh, I'm reading this, but I don't understand, what is an update domain? So what is an update domain, right? Okay, so we're going to ask him what update domain is. And then boom, update domains are used for patching of the virtual machines. Virtual machines get update domains automatically once they are put inside an availability set. Oh, okay. Well, what is a fault domain, right? And look, I misspelled it. Okay. What is a fault domain? And now it tells me fault domains are defined groups. Well, what if I said fault domain, what is? Same thing. It's learning. It looks at probabilities of the question. I can also say, are you a robot? Let's see what he says today. I'm right here and answering your questions. Who's being Bay? Okay, do you drink coffee? I don't need to eat. What is your problem? Let's see if you... No, we're not having a problem. Try a different browser. So, but this is the power of a chatbot. Now, the reason why I wanted to show this to you is a couple different reasons. One, this is incredibly powerful for I think in 2 different time slots. So one is internal for your current employee base. You could do this for HR. What if you had 1,000 different questions? People keep asking you questions. You're going someplace. Well, you can create a bot, right, that actually will answer these things, right? And we'll talk back and actually give you suggestions. But also you can turn on sentiment analysis. So if somebody gets angry or upset, it can say, I can tell that you're getting upset. Let me connect you directly to somebody else. Let me call you. Okay. You can do that as well, right? So just amazing. So that's one respect internally, but also externally, don't create a dumb bot, create one with some artificial intelligence. I mean, super cool, super interesting how that goes. So we have this, let's see, I have a poll here. Okay, this was not really updated very well. It says, would you like to learn more about chatbot can improve productivity in your workplace? Choice 1 would be yes. Choice 2 would be no. Number 3 would be not sure, but interested in learning a little bit more. If you could go ahead and figure that out, just go ahead and do that. That'd be great. Okay, it really is something else. And and we can use that Power Platform offer to basically do 2/3, 3/3, 4/3 of that whole 4/3, 50, 60% of that. So cool. Hey, thanks everyone for voting. I appreciate it. I really do. Okay, let's look at data mining. Okay, with Power BI. Phil, can you put in the link to the Power BI? Whatchamacallit? Oh no, actually I have it over here. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me go to Teams. And I think we put that in. One moment. Aha, here we go. So Power BI, we actually use this and we embedded Power BI inside of our Teams environment. So if you have a team, Microsoft Teams open, you can actually go directly to General and you can actually go here. Now, we can also go to the website and pick that one up. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab the URL so that if you can't find it, I'm going to put this into the chat window here. I am curious, are you currently mining data today with your organization to make critical business decisions? This is another one. But if you're intermediate, I like to tell a story behind this one. Really, it's the story I have is, imagine you're a CEO of a healthcare organization, right? Imagine that, right? And you wake up in the morning, the first thing you want to do is think about, well, what is the, what do I need to do to understand the health of my business? So you reach over, here's your iPad, first thing pops up is this site, right? And what we've done here is now the CEO can actually click into any one of these and see the health of the business. And I give you, for example, you can go down to doctors, right? You click on doctors and you can drill down. And what this Power BI instance is, it's connected to a whole bunch of different data sources, which I'm going to go into in just a second. But it's connected to a bunch of data sources. It's in real time and we can connect it. So if anything material changes, we can see material changes. But what I love about this demo specifically is we can go and drill down into a bunch of different categories that we want to see and feel like what's going on. So let's say the CEO is like, okay, James Aaron, he's been kind of a tough cookie lately. I want to see what's going on in his patient base. So, okay, he's got 194 patients, great. Number of inpatients, outpatients, patient's age. But let me do this. I want to look at his risk. Maybe that's what's bumming him out. So I can go down to risk level and I can click into any one of these, right? So risk level 5, I want to go ahead and click on risk level 5. And then it tells me, okay, out of that, 18 inpatients, number of outpatients, number of average patients, right? Interesting, right? Risk level 5, okay. What if I wanted to see his age group? What if I want to drill down into the age group of people? How many of them are admitted and then readmitted, right? And this kind of is alarming because you can drill down and really find everything in here. Well, let me go ahead and get out of that, but let me look at Michael Carey, right? So Michael Carey, he's in orthopedics, and I can once again go through any one of these different types of scenarios and actually help out and see what's going on. I can drill down. He's got 73 patients, interesting, in the 41 to 50 age group. Well, I guess that tells me that I'm brittle, right? Okay, evidently, right? So anyways, just make a long story short, this is a really cool way of doing it. Now, let me kind of just explain one more part of building a modern data warehouse. A lot of folks don't know this, but to start Power BI, you can just use a basic Excel spreadsheet, okay? You can just use an Excel spreadsheet. It's not a problem. You could have 5 departments all just loading that one Excel spreadsheet, and then you can take a Power BI model, connect those specific things, those data points, and then create graphs, no problem. But a modern data warehouse is very different than just a regular warehouse, data warehouse. Okay, and what a modern data warehouse takes into effect what has changed over the past, I'd say 60 months even. Okay, and what has changed really is the explosion of data sources, and data sources that are coming from the cloud. Okay, and what I mean by that is, a lot of times you're just pulling from a source that's a structured dynamic data source or static data source, no problem. But now we have all of our ERP systems, and we have a lot of applications that have gone to the cloud, right? And they're streaming data. QuickBooks Online, that's an easy visual one, right? Online, right? And so the other problem, though, is that every different company creates data in a different format, right? So it's very similar to the train tracks before Rockefeller standardized the train tracks. There's a bunch of different types of train tracks with different sized trains we can never get across the country, right? Well, that's the same thing that's going on with data, right? So I'll give you the mechanics of what we do. When we talk to a company, and this is Cambay are experts at this, they go about this. The first thing is you want to identify all of your data. So you have, let's say you have 9 or 10 different data sources, and some can be structured, unstructured, Parquet, ESV, CSV, all different types of data. First thing is we identify which ones they are, okay? Then we point them all into what's called an Azure data lake. This is a modern data warehouse. Now we're in the data lake, we're looking around just to make sure that, yeah, those are the data sources that we want, right? Then we take those data, the data lake data sources, and we put them into what's called an Azure Data Factory that has Jupyter notebooks that are attached, okay? I'll explain that in a second. But now the first step in the data factory is what we want to do is structure all the data. So first and foremost, we have to manipulate the data streams. If you have a SQL server, you may have 1,000 rows, 1,000 columns, but maybe you only want 4 rows and 4 columns, right? So in this scenario, you need to figure out, okay, what are the data sets? We want to structure them all in the same thing, okay? And then after we structured it, we run them through what's called a Jupyter notebook. Now, Jupyter notebooks are amazing pre-configured machine learning algorithm type of notebooks where we can actually take some parts of each data set, combine them together, and then run regression tools, regression analysis behind it to find if we can find artificial intelligence insights, right, to make it work, right? So when we're happy with all of that, we then push it over to an Azure SQL database, one final one. Now, this SQL database, if you look at it, it's constantly running because we have streaming, right? It's live, but everything is structured and everything's there. And then the final step is we use Power BI on top of it to monitor, right? We pull from those sources and create stuff just like this. That's the mechanics of it. Now, the coolest thing about using Microsoft's modern data warehouse, when we turn on that AI functionality, we can do one of 2 things. We can turn on predictive maintenance or predictive forecasting. Now, predictive maintenance is if like you're a machine shop, right? And you have a bunch of equipment. Well, let's you put a bunch of IoT sensors on the equipment. And those IoT sensors are basically there to measure the length of life that's left, right? Okay. And what you would do is you take all that data, you put it into, just like we talked about, bring it up to Power BI, and basically predictive maintenance will then give you an alert and show you a graph. Hey, on this particular part, this is at 90% life capacity. Time to go send somebody out with that part to go change it. Now, predictive forecasting is for businesses who want to see if any material change happens in a day and it's real time. I want to be able to forecast out for 7 months against the health of my business. Okay, and so it's kind of cool. Like in this scenario, what if we added 2 doctors with 300 patients they brought, right? Well, that would affect all of our services over here, right? Revenue, ROI, everything. And the cool thing is real time, we added them 6 months out, it tells us what it is. So there's really 2 pieces of it that make makes sense with that. All right, I'm going to pause here. I know I talked a lot. I just want to make sure that we all are good with that the description. Can you just come to the chat window and give me a thumbs up, yes, or tell me more? And and while you're doing that, Aaron, do you have a Power BI scenario that you like to share?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Power BI, we use sometimes almost as a makeshift data warehouse, right? Because you're pulling in data from all these different sources. So, traditionally you would have, I have an on-prem database, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I have, Dynamics 365 data. We pull all of that data into Power BI because ultimately we want to create a report out of it anyways. So, we're pulling in those data sources, and then we're blending that data together so that we can, create fancy reports like we have here that are drag and drop and are very interactive. So yeah, we have a lot of instances around Power BI, and especially, just data sources that are all over the place, just pulling in not only Microsoft Stack databases, but even flat files and things like that. So, yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks. That's really good. And that's just another further explanation of this. So we're basically just about the end of our presentation today. Did you guys like my new tool, the Spotlight tool? I'm curious if that was actually worth it or not. Curious to hear if anybody had any thoughts on that one. But while you're thinking about that, one other thing I want to just talk about is, oh, cool, Rebecca, love it, awesome. Okay, yeah, it's a Logitech presentation Spotlight tool. It costs like $90. I swear, I'm gonna need to call them up and say I want a residual on everyone I'm selling, because I'm just telling everybody about it. It's amazing. But furthermore, just to kind of wrap up, we went to Power Automate, we went through Power Apps, went through Chatbot, we went through Power BI, right, on this one. And our guidance, we ran 2,000 people through this past year. And, what we do is always suggest a few things. One is time to just think about what you want to do. Okay. Next, second step is work with a certified Power Platform partner like a Kanbay. Okay. Just have a discussion with them. That's what you got to do. Just have hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And then, what are your thoughts on it? So have an initial, discussion. And then the next thing is use whatever resources that are available that can maybe reduce the cost for you. Now, not everyone qualifies. If you're a one-man shop, I'm so sorry, you might not have the revenue, but typical companies get qualified for this. So I'm going to launch this last thing here. Just want to see if there's anything specific that you'd like a further discussion on. Power BI, if you want to talk about Power Applications, Power Automate. And then what we can do is we can just send you a follow-up email invitation, a calendar invite. And then if the time doesn't work, don't worry about it. Just suggest another time. And that first meeting, I promise you this, okay? The first meeting is just a discussion like it is today. We're just talking. There's no vendor like, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. It's, hey, let's just talk about your your initiatives, right? And then also, hey, let's see if we can apply for some free money. Let's go ahead and do that, whatever. So with that being said, that's the end of my session here. Aaron, do you want to go ahead and wrap this up and maybe tell them how you follow up with them?
Yeah, so thank you, Sherman. We appreciate you taking the time here to go through all these awesome features, and then to everyone attending this session. And I know your time is valuable, so I appreciate that. And, I always like to start off with, at the end here is just through this process, you may be thinking of some applications, hey, this application was never developed because we couldn't get a developer to do it for us. Or maybe you have a large, custom made application that you're building today that maybe you could rethink, and maybe Power Apps is something that could, develop that application faster. So just kind of planting that seed is what we wanted to do in this session today. And, connecting your data together after you build these applications, kind of where does that data live? How can we report on it? How can we be more predictive and gain insights into that data, right? So, some of the advantages we talked about today of the Power Platform are, it really is a platform. When you talk about building any kind of application in a coding language or something like that. You're talking about all the stack that's behind it. And the Power Platform is the same thing. A lot of that is hidden behind the scenes because Microsoft is handling all that for us. There's big data centers out there that are holding our data and optimizing kind of the way that we develop these applications. So, just some points here, reducing your hardware footprint is an advantage of going to Power Platform, being able to quickly develop applications. And the saying is fail quickly as well. The faster you can get those applications out and have users using them, the faster you can get and develop those applications, improve them over time. And then lastly, all this being based in the cloud, being able to scale those applications as needed. You're not in an on-prem environment where you may run into memory limits and all those annoying things that you always have with physical servers. So, just kind of think about that today, that really all of these pieces are integrated, all the way down the stack that we're looking at now. We do a lot of work with Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, and really down the stack there. But those productivity tools are kind of our entry point. And then we build off of those, with things like the Azure Cloud BI and analytics, kind of down that stack. So again, just to mention, Microsoft giving you free money, that's always a good incentive to try it out yourself. And we look forward to engaging with you guys with, any things that, you're kind of thinking about. Hey, it would be great if we could do X. So we've had this process that's been sitting out there that's done in Excel, and we'd really like to do it in a Power App. Kind of those types of things are a great entry point for the Power Platform. So again, thank you all, and I hope you have a good evening.